Hi friends, Sarah here from Sunset Bow, and I just wanted to do this video because I thought it was interesting, something that I discovered recently, and I couldn't find another video about it, so I just thought I would go ahead and share with folks just some information about various editions of the Morgan-Greer that I've discovered. So anyway, I recently had the opportunity to lay hands on an older edition of the Morgan-Greer. So this is a recent publication of US Games. This is the version that is printed in Italy, and this is an older edition from, I believe, the early 90s that is printed in Belgium. And there is actually a pretty significant difference between these editions, and I personally actually like the older edition better. So I just wanted to sort of show people the difference between, you know, the modern Italy version and the kind of couple decades old Belgium version, just so you can sort of see the differences between the two. And, you know, maybe you also prefer the older Belgium edition and want to see if you can track one of those down rather than buying a brand new one. So anyway, I mean, obviously the first clear difference here is the box. So, you know, in the new edition, we've got this purple box, and again, it says made in Italy. It has the Queen of Swords on one side, the Chariot on the other side. The Belgian box has the Chariot on one side and the Eight of Cups on the other side, and is more of a blue color. And you can actually see the boxes are different sizes. And as we'll discover when we take a look at it, the cards are actually different sizes as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cards. So at all times throughout this video, I just want to make sure people understand that the one on the left-hand side is the new edition that was just, you know, published very recently. The one on the right-hand side is the old edition. So let me just center these here. So we've got the Italy edition here, new Italy edition here on the left, older Belgian edition here on the right. So they both come with just a set of a little white book, which is actually really just a fold out. And I didn't bother to take a look at whether or not there were significant differences in the fold out. I don't think that there are. I mean, it looks like it's basically the same for the two. You know, it has the same introduction and you know, for what looks like the same print throughout. They both have the ancient Celtic method of divination, aka the Celtic cross. That always makes me laugh. But you know, the older one is like slightly shinier paper, but aside from that, it's pretty much the same. But it's when you start to look at the cards that you really start to see the differences. And I'm hoping this should pick up pretty well on camera, but you can see that the backings are quite a bit different. So again, the newer edition has sort of a darker, more muted blue backing, whereas the newer edition has a brighter blue backing. And the main thing that I just want to show you is that when I hold up the cards, the older edition is a solid couple millimeters wider than the new edition. So the cards are actually a different size in the old edition. You know, the cardstock doesn't feel all that different between the two, but there is definitely very clearly, and you know, when you look at this, you can really see how there's more space on the sides of the stars in the old edition than there is in the new edition. Like, clearly the sides have been cut off in the new edition. So you actually get a little bit more card and a little bit more image on an older edition. And as we go through, you'll be able to kind of see the differences between the old and the new cards in terms of, you know, what you actually lose from the image as a result of the cards being made narrower in the new edition. The colors are also different in certain cases, so I'll point that out as I see it, but let's go ahead and take a look at the cards here. And so again, what we've got here is Italy on new version with Italy printed in Italy on the left, older version printed in Belgium on the right, and you can already see with these older cards that there's some image on the sides that you don't get with the newer cards. And so I'm just going to start flipping through, but I just find it really interesting how there is pieces of image that are actually missing on the newer cards. You can see you get more of the lily, for example, here on the older edition. You get more of the pillars on the older edition. I mean, it's not like a huge difference. It doesn't affect the usability of the cards at all. And you can also see too that in certain cases, I mean, even though the backs are brighter on the older edition, the colors of the actual artwork feel a little bit lighter and more muted. Like people's complexions look less kind of ruddy, you know? You can see everything looks quite a bit darker on the old or on the newer edition. It's like they just bumped up the saturation of everything. So for me, I personally, you know, there are some cards where you can't see much of a difference, to be perfectly honest, but you know, for me, I personally prefer having an edition where I get a little bit more image and I have a little bit lighter toned images that aren't quite so just like dark, you know, like bright colors. So like you can see here in the tower that there's a definite difference in terms of the coloration, and one of them looks quite a bit lighter than the other one. Same thing here with this star. It looks, everything looks a little muddy in the new edition compared to the old edition. And the same with the moon. The sun you can see is a lot darker orange in the old edition than the new edition. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. It's really apparent in person. And you can see in the hand, again, everything, the saturation was just like bumped up a bit on this newer edition, and everything is a little bit more squeezed in terms of the image. There are some images where, you know, it actually feels like they, sorry, my cat's freaking out, where it seems like they, instead of actually trimming off the sides, they just made the image itself a little bit narrower. So like these ones where you could see that there was stuff that would be cut off potentially, they actually made the image itself narrower. So I know these differences are subtle, but for me personally, I just automatically, like just right off the bat, prefer the look of the older edition. I think it's nicer looking, and I don't know, the cards just feel a little bit more spacious. They feel a little bit less cramped. So I really prefer it. Like here, I feel like, you know, you can see like the things have just been squished in a little bit. So definitely a darker red to the cloak, and just everything is a little muddier in this newer edition. The Nine of Cups looks quite a bit more flushed, facially flushed. So depending on how you interpret the Nine of Cups, maybe that'll make a difference. So I'm just going to try to flip through the rest of these kind of quickly, because I think you can sort of get the sense of where I'm going with this. But again, you know, the difference is really, really subtle. But there is a definite difference. Like here again, I feel like if you just look really closely, like her face is narrower. Everything's just been squished in a little bit for this new edition. And then here again, everything's a little bit darker and to me a little bit muddier. So just gonna flip through again quickly here. But you know, I really think that I just kind of wanted to, you know, make a video sort of showing, like here, for example, you know, the saturation has been bumped up on the blues. So like the guy's complexion looks a lot more sort of blue than it does over here on the right. And again, there's just some more darkness and a little bit more dimness to the new edition cards. So here, for example, like I feel like I can see more of his face in the older edition. This is another one where you can see that they just overall narrowed and trimmed a little bit the image. So anyway, so I just wanted to show people, because when I got this older edition of the Morgan-Greer, I realized that I actually liked it a little bit better than my newer edition. And you know, the size difference in the cards is actually like not, here, it's like not negligible. I mean, there's like a solid couple millimeters difference in the width of the cards. Again, the cardstock feels very similar, both in terms of the texture and in terms of just the weight of it. You know, I think that just from a height standpoint, the two stacks of cards are the same. And, you know, I've always really liked the cardstock of the Morgan-Greer. It has a little bit of a waxy sort of feel to it, and the older edition has a very similar feel to this newer edition. So I don't know that they've necessarily changed the cardstock at all, but there is definitely a bit of a difference just in the overall images, you know, the sort of saturation level and darkness of the images, as well as either squeezing some images or trimming some of them in this newer edition. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful to people. It was just something that I thought I'd share because I noticed it and it seemed interesting, and I went looking to see if there were any other videos talking about it, and I couldn't find any. So anyway, if you're like me, a big fan of the Morgan-Greer, you know, and you like one or the other better, it may be worth looking for one or the other. I mean, those older editions printed in Belgium, which I believe are from the 90s, are not like hard to find on eBay or anything like that. So it could be worth, you know, tracking that one down if you're interested in the sort of lighter coloration of the newer edition, and, you know, having that little bit of extra card on the sides. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.